Well, this is one of the reasons why I will never support Ron Paul 100%. And that goes for his son as well, Rand Paul. So, what I want to say from the outset is that I respect their positions in terms of foreign interventions, the U.S. military trying to police the world and so on. I'm totally on board with this, and I'm not an isolationist, but we probably should not be involved in foreign war games, or wars for that matter, which aren't games at all. So I support their positions in this regard. On the other hand, I will take issue with many of Ron Paul's positions in the past, and also that of his son right now, since it's blown up into some great big deal, which actually isn't a big deal because it's essentially a right-wing libertarian argument, which has never settled too well with the American public once they find out what it's all about. It's always couched in innocuous terms as far as racism and so on is concerned. No, the libertarians, excuse me, the libertarians aren't, the right-wing libertarians, I should say, are not necessarily racist, to begin with. They aren't. But what they are for is the absolute conviction that private property should trump everything else in society. I'm not a Marxist, okay? I'm not a collectivist. I don't believe in the how should I put this? In the dictatorialship of the masses on anything. I do believe in common sense, however, and private property and ownership rights are not necessarily a trump card for bringing about a better society as a whole. So I guess what I'm going to do on here is to just read you an excerpt of a speech from this type of viewpoint, a right-wing libertarian viewpoint, which is Ron Paul, and it also includes his son, by the way. No big surprise there, but this kind of viewpoint views the United States Constitution as a fundamentalist dogma, a doctrine which cannot be changed, and only this very first Constitution, which was written, hundreds of years ago, is somehow a non-living document set in stone and to be interpreted as such as it was back 250 years or 300 years ago. This completely denies the amendments to the Constitution, and some of those amendments to the Constitution are quite important, including the Civil Rights Act and the other amendments which basically gave the right to non-property owners the right to vote in this country, the right to universal suffrage. That means the right for non-propertied people to vote, for women to vote, for laborers to vote, and so on. And the Civil Rights Act was completely instrumental in furthering our Bill of Rights. But Ron Paul and his son always go back to the original documents on a somehow fundamentalist level, you know. It's just read the text, don't think about anything else, just read the text, and that is going to be the law of the land from this point on. Well, guess what? Society has evolved a bit in the last 300 years. And the Civil Rights Act was one of those improvements to our larger society here in the United States. But let me read you a speech which was given on the House floor by Ron Paul in 2004. Again, this is going to be a multi-part video because the speech is long and it's worth listening to because it expresses a kind of viewpoint which is emblematic of Rand Paul's viewpoint today, namely the coming to the defense of private property, private corporations, and basically the promotion of oversight by those very private industries if they have their way. Now you can see what's happening in the Gulf today, what these private industries are doing, how they are obfuscating the laws, how regulation basically doesn't matter, how everything that they do is not exactly against the people per se, but it is to further their own interests at every turn. And this goes for the civil rights legislation as well. And for somebody like Ron Paul to call this unconstitutional, as he did in his speech in 2004, it's like, where are we exactly? 300 years ago, in the age of feudalism? So please listen very carefully to the speech that Ron Paul, and basically his son as well, Rand Paul, is actually supporting. This is going to be, like I said, a multi-part video. Many people will just tune out. It's okay. You know, if you want to just listen to sound bites on YouTube on here before we all get knocked off, you know, it doesn't make any difference. I just want to get it out there. So yeah, it's going to be another multi-fucking part video. I'm sorry.